Hello, Villain Vice Squad. Can you believe it? I made it to 9 episodes of my podcast this week. Or should I say, in the past, few months I've been creating this podcast. I've been doing really well. So, in the last episode, we were talking about 3 Burger Barn horror stories you shouldn't tell in the dark. And now it's time for the stories you've all been waiting for. Drumroll, please. 3 prison horror stories you shouldn't tell in the dark. Why do I feel like I'm on American Horror Story right now? Anyway, let's get on with the episode. Story 1. The Prisoner Show. I grew up in multiple prisons, none of which were very positive environments. One time a chick is shooting a gun, the next a prisoner is causing a riot. This one time I was eating my breakfast when all of a sudden in the corner of my eye I noticed something. A strange man holding a camera. I could have sworn he was filming for something. Maybe it was for his college, maybe it was for something else. I don't know. If I'm being honest, I didn't really think too much. I didn't think too much of it until that night. I was sitting in my bunk, dreaming up the next evil plan I would do to escape, until I needed to use the bathroom, and I was horrified from what I saw. The same camera guy from before, sitting on my toilet seat. He was getting all his germs all over it. I eventually went back to sleep, and once I did, the man was gone. And then I had gotten some time outside in the courtyard, but then I saw the same guy. I then had enough, and I threw a weight at him, and he immediately died. Eventually, after I killed the guy, I was eventually put into a military base, and I never saw that strange guy again. I eventually learned that that dumb guy that was filming us was being used as a ploy for a TV show called The Prison Show, Prison Pals or whatever. And due to my irresponsible action, the show had just gotten canceled, which I'm not really mad about. Honestly, that guy was a creepy asshole. Anyway, I would say it's about time for story 2. Let's roll it with it. Story 2. Bert. When I was in prison, we had a new inmate transferring from another prison called St. Luke's Prison. It turns out he was just a homeless man sobbing on the streets of Brookhaven for some extra change. Can you tell I was trying to be a snake? Apparently, he was arrested for robbing some weirdo guy's house. He thought he could get away with it, but the dumb bastard put fingerprints on the bomb. He was caught and put in jail, but later escaped a few years later. And then later had to move into our prison. But the weird guy never told us his name. He just stayed silent all the time. He never even spoke. We've never actually heard his voice, which was a little weird. He never talked one bit, like he was mute. And whenever we asked him a question or said something to him, he would just write down the answer on a piece of paper. I asked him what his first name was, and he wrote Bert on a piece of paper. And then I asked why he was in here. He said he was in prison for manipulation. Apparently, he told me that he had a superpower where he can hypnotize people. Just like Molly Moon from the Molly Moon series. Anyway, eventually I woke up in the middle of the night and found him unscrewing the screws on the lock. The lock of my cell, to be exact. We were scheduled as bunkmates since we got along pretty well, and I didn't realize that he was planning to escape. Like, what the fuck? But being honest, I didn't really care about it. If he wanted to escape and get caught and put in solitary confinement, that's his fault. It ain't mine. I had nothing to do with this type of shit. He also took some portraits of his family and his brothers and every else. I know he took the little dirt roads that are under the prison, and he ran away. He escaped. I told the guards that Bert had escaped. The guards had no idea who I was talking about, and I said, the shy kid who got arrested for, hypnotizing people and other stuff. And then they immediately understood. And then they immediately started searching the whole city for him. And despite a massive search party and multiple leads, no trace of him was found. A year later, his backpack was found in a grocery store, but it revealed nothing about what happened to him. Nobody, including me, knows why he left or where he's planning to go. His disappearance is still one of the most unsolved cases in Roblox Brookhaven. Story 3. Quick Quentin. I was recently in jail for a bunch of crimes, including embezzlement and others. I was actually just trying to make the most of my new life, and I actually became the most known prisoner known to the prisoners. I became like a mafia boss in a prison. Even though that the prisoners loved me and talked nicely to me, the guards there just talked shit to me. But this other Quick Quentin sounded like such a good prodigy. Sounds like a guy who treat me with respect, unlike those prison guards. I thought this guy was a clone of me from another land. But it's true. His name was actually Quentin, spelled the exact same way as me, Quentin. Crazy, right? But oh boy, was I wrong. When the prisoner arrived, he looked almost like me, except he had some black hair, of course. And then he began to walk past my cell, and I was just praying that he wouldn't come in. But yet, Quentin did. He came into the cell like he owned the place and said, well, looks at me, I guess we're bunkmates, and he flashed me his card. The left side of my brain thought it was just a coincidence that he was in the same cell as me. Then the right side of my brain suggested that he had purposefully changed his card so he knew that he'd be sitting in my cell. Another part of me thought that he took a card of another new inmate that just arrived here with him, so he'd be sitting in my cell. But I was too shocked to say another word. I don't know what was happening, but I think he saw me as his idol or something, I don't know. Soon, Quentin started copying everything I do, like the way I walked, the way I talked, the way I ate, everything. He was even looking at my brown hair with envy. I thought, since he had black hair, that he wouldn't try to change his hair color and his hairstyle. But soon on the next day, when I woke up in my cell and began to walk, I then looked behind me and saw Quentin with the same hairstyle as I, and he also removed his hypno power. I don't know how. And plus, separate inmates started confusing him for me. Like when they wanted to talk to me, hey boss, and he'd be like, oh, hi, what's going on? And I was just there eating my lunch. I was completely looking at him, starstruck. He then later left our cell, and I began to look for him, and I found him talking with some inmates about how great he was. He was trying to be me. I said, stop trying to steal my identity. What are you talking about? Quentin said. You're trying to look like me and steal my friends, aren't you? Quentin denied that he was trying to look like anyone. This went on for days. Eventually, I was so angry, I just killed him. In his sleep. I killed him in his sleep. And I had a history of killing multiple other people in the past. Then I was taken to court where I was then sentenced to death. I know a lot of people would be sad about that, but I honestly wasn't really upset about it. And soon, me, the lowlife, was executed. I sure do hope you enjoyed this episode of Robloxian Stories. If you can, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 470 subscribers. And now I'm at 468. Thank you so much for this achievement. This really helps me out. Sleep tight.